Hello, I just want to greet you again. I want to just clarify a few things because I've had discussions with a few people who didn't seem to understand when we call acts of violence as terrorism and why such cannot be tolerated. Anyway, I just wanted to share what I usually mean or what it means to be a terrorist and what does it mean, what is terrorism. So terrorism is basically unlawful use of violence in and intimidation against governments or civilians to influence your political views or to change or in pursuits of your political gains. So if you use those things, that is classified as terrorism. So it can include using or instilling fear, making threats, and this can include what we have been seeing recently, which can involve serious violence against a person, damage to their property, endangerment of people's lives. Not obviously the terrorist. So if you are a terrorist, if you commit these acts of terror, you are classified as a terrorist. Or if you support in terms of like funding, financing, grooming, training, all those sorts of things, you are classified as a terrorist. So if you commit these acts, really you are a terrorist and you should be regarded as such. So anyone who causes serious risk to public health and safety. That's why as much as when this uprising started, I was sympathizing ngokufa kwaThabani, and I still do, because as a human being and as a Liswati and as a woman, as a mother, I find a loss of life extremely disturbing. You know, just one is enough, and in unclear circumstances. And I'm grateful that the government took the right measures to investigate, and it's continuing to do so. However, what followed after that, I do not support, and I will never support, because in my views, that's um terrorism. That's terrorism. Our parents were not even able to access, or not just our parents, a lot of people were denied their basic rights to access, to communicate, to Niger, to commute, to use public services by these people who hold extreme views, who I will probably call extremist, uh, and together with this terrorist. And as such, they put people's lives at risk when they blocked roads, even for people laba hayarisheti moto, when we didn't have public transport that was available to ferry people from point A to point B. There were people who were trying to access medical help, trying to go to work and make a living for themselves so that they can sustain their livelihoods. Those people, they are as good as terrorists, because really they put people's lives at risk in so doing. So if you do such things, those things that you do are terrorism. Those are acts of terrorism, and people need to be clear. Kuthi as much as you may not think ukuthi lele nkwentako is not bad, it is, because it disrupts somebody's life and it puts people's lives at risk. Kunemntwana nje lapha ngumathapha labamehlisane nina emotweni lebebayihayarishile, umntwana ne-asthma attack. I don't know what happened to that child, but the trauma the mother faced abona umntwana akhe agula angakhona ukummixa esibhedlela, because kunesiteleka semakhumbi, and the car that she paid for ukuthi ithathe umntwana akhe to seek help. had to be turned back, wehla agulelwa ngumntwana, that is terrorism, because they're instilling fear empilweni yaloyo make nasempilweni yemphana bayibeka at risk. The safety of that child was compromised, and that's terrorism. Let's make that clear. And therefore, angeke bese ngisympathize with such behavior, and I will never do that, because really it's not about protesting. And let us not forget, Gutsi, even before the military, the security forces, and security forces, that's their job. If you feel when as part of the member of the security forces you don't want to do your job, you better do the honorable thing and resign. Vele uphume ubonakale ukuthi wena you are a terrorist, because your job is to uphold law and order. You cannot let terrorists run havoc. That is wrong. And people shouldn't feel like they cannot do their job because of terrorists that are running havoc. Then bese kuba nalama extremists. Extremists are those people that hold negative views. They might not be terrorists, but it's easy to move from an extremist view into a terrorist. Ngawubekisa nganawu nje lo tibita nge-journalist, although sathi ukuthi akasiyo. I like the way abamdescribe ngayo recent ukuthi is a yellow journalist, but anyway, he started from these extreme views of negative views against our way of life as a Maswati, against the king, against the Hunment, and it moved from extremism into terrorism when it started actually perpetrating terror and destruction of property and even endangerment of people's lives by publishing people's numbers by publishing things like, oh, they are going to pay, they are going to reward anyone who commits acts of terror to other people. That person moved from extremism into what? Into terrorism. And to make things worse, Nyalo, the very same person is radicalizing, especially young people and those vulnerable in the society, by tapping into their vulnerability and utilizing them for that are sensitive in their livelihood. You might use things like poverty, might use things like accessibility, they might use anything so that they gain sympathy. So you end up sympathizing with them. And then from sympathizing, they radicalize you. So there is a process. Radicalization is a process that they use against someone by making that person develop extreme negative views on political or social issues. So Nyalo, that's what they are doing. And that's what these three MPs did. That's why I will never support their agenda, because if they were truly, honestly, for empowerment emaswati and development of timpilo temaswati, ukuthi sibe in a better position, they should have followed the right route, and they should have made sure ukuthi what they are using is education and empowerment other than extreme views, and try and radicalize people and grooming children so that they can follow lama views abo, so that they can try and because what they were doing, they were trying to I would say vele kwenda ikhu, they were trying to steal power from the leadership Eswatini. And on top of that, they were trying to change our constitution unlawfully and illegally. And that as well, it's illegal. Kukuyo umthetho-sisekelo, that no one has a right yekushintsha. No one has a right ekushintsha, and such individuals should be charged with treason. So mina nje kubeka ngami ngabe these people were charged with treason and as well as acts of terrorism. So I would leave it there.